Favorite dual hero has become the most popular and best way to play elemental heroes. The other version of the deck using vision heroes are still very powerful and have been having success in tournaments, but this is the best version of the deck that's been competing with Rose Dragon the most going into this KC Cup. So the big thing that makes this deck different is obviously our skill, Favorite Duel. It allows us to discard an elemental hero monster from our hand to the grave and send one from our deck to the grave, a normal elemental hero monster that is, and then we get to add a Miracle Fusion to our hand. You also have the ability to play Skyscraper from outside your deck to the board if you summon a Flame Wingman, but the main thing we care about is getting that Miracle Fusion to hand. The big play with this deck is just to send a Liquid Soldier from your hand to the graveyard with that effect. You discard a Liquid Soldier, send an Elemental Hero Neos from your deck to the graveyard, grab that Miracle Fusion, and then you get a Fusion Summon into either the Brave Neos or the Neos Knight. Then you're going to get that draw to discard one off the Liquid Soldier, which is going to let you draw into all of your various back row cards, along with Neos Fusion, and that's really the core of what you're trying to do with this deck. I'll get into a little bit more of the strategy with everything here as we go through each card, but that's the main thing you're really trying to do here, is get Liquid Soldier to hand, activate your skill to get your Fusion monster off, draw 2 discard, and get into all your back row cards off of it. So we have 3 Elemental Hero Stratos. This is obviously going to be primarily to search for your Liquid Soldier, but Stratos is just an amazing card in general, being able to blow up opponent's back row, being able to just constantly search itself out to just sort of keep a chain of having monsters going. 1800 attack points can sometimes be enough to help finish off your opponent alongside something like a Brave Neo, so Stratos is just extremely important in the deck. You need 3 of. 1 DD Crow is kind of just like an extra back row card that I put in here. You don't have to run this. It's really good in Mirror Match too. You got to be careful of your opponent hitting your Neos out of the graveyard or your Liquid Soldier out of the graveyard with the DD Crow. Artifact Lancea can also shut you down as well, but you don't really see that too much on ladder, not unless you're playing tournaments, that is. So Liquid Soldier is sort of the main new card with this deck that is really making this thing function, allowing us to get that draw to discard 1. Extremely important. We're not really using its graveyard revival effect. In fact, I don't think I used it the entire time I was playing with this deck. So we mostly just care about the draw to discard 1 effect off of this thing. 3 E-Hero Neos. We have to run 3 Neos for our skill and for our, just to get the maximum potential to be able to summon the maximum number of your Neos monsters. You will run through all 3 of these, so you can't cut this at all. You have to run this at 3. And this is the one card in the deck you really don't want to draw. You don't really want to draw any of your normal monsters. You have to run them for the skill to trigger because you need 4 different names and you have to run 3 Neos. So no choice but to run it, but you really don't want to ever draw these. This is definitely the biggest problem the deck can have. So, as I said, you need 3 other normal monsters with different names. So we have 1 Avian, 1 Burst Lady, and 1 Sparkman. This gives us access to the Flame Wingman, which does come up every once in a while. This does turn out to be really effective and can win you games on its own. I never summoned the Shining Flare Wingman. You could go with the Grand Mole instead. A lot of people play the Neospatian Grand Mole so that they can go with that extra deck monster, Neospatian Grand Mole, into the Elemental Hero Grand Neos. So that's another option you can go with as well. I decided to cut back on the monsters and go with as many back row as possible because I found that usually my problem was drawing too many monsters rather than not drawing enough. So 1 Reinforcement of the Army, having that additional way to sort out Stratos is important. And then we get into all the back row cards. We have 3 Book of Moon, 3 Neos Fusion, also an extremely powerful card for this deck. Sometimes you just won't have a Liquid Soldier or a way to get it in your hand, and you need to dump it into the graveyard with the Neos Fusion. Sometimes you just want to do that and wait a turn before activating your skills. You can get that draw to discard 1 because it's so important in this deck being able to get into the back row that you need. We're also running 3 Bottomless Trap Hole, 2 Fiendish Chain, 2 Paleozoic Canadia, and 3 Karma Cut in here. You can run whatever back row you want. There are a ton of different options that you can run. I'll show a couple other ones right here that you can also run are the Trap Hole card. A lot of people have been running Void Trap Hole as well as Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare. So there's a ton of different back row cards. You can just basically use whatever ones you have at your disposal. If you're a budget player, you don't have access to all the best back row cards. You can just sort of put in whatever you have access to. So you're not restricted to using these ones. And for our extra deck, I mentioned we have the 2 Brave Neos, we have 3 Neos Knight, and then the 1 Flame Wingman. Again, Shining Fairy Wingman in here as well. Didn't really use it. You could easily cut that or the Neos or a Neos Knight and put in that Grand Neos monster. Beyond that, let's go ahead and just dig into the gameplay. Okay, so we have a matchup against Gaia here. Now, we don't have MST or Cosmic Cyclone in our deck, or any kind of other anti-back row removal besides Elemental Hero Stratos, so we're really reliant on Stratos to take out cards like Galloping Gaia or any other continuous spell or trap cards that pose problems to us. And this is one that definitely poses problems, right? Allows him to just get a free +1 every turn, searching for whatever he needs to go for his fusion summons every turn. So he's going to do that now, summon his Gaia Magical Dragon that can pop a card during my turn, as well as setting one back row that we need to deal with. So, but we have a Liquid Soldier in our hand with a top deck, in addition to the 2 Stratus that we already had. So activate our skill, send it from our hand to the graveyard, send our Neos from the deck to the graveyard, get a Miracle Fusion to hand, and go for the fusion summon here. We're going to get our Neos Knight onto the board, draw 2 and discard 1, which is going to let us dig for our back row here. In this situation, it's also going to let us discard a Neos Fusion. Since we drew into a second one, we can discard the Neos Fusion, which protects our Neos Knight from destruction, activate the Neos Fusion to summon another elemental here from the deck, and then we can normal summon the Stratos and activate the effect to pop his back row. That way we can get rid of this field spell and not let it continue to do its work. So go ahead and set the back row. He can now use his effect to destroy our back row card here. Remember, he can't destroy our face-up E-Hero Fusion monsters, but he could use to build the back row. But we'll go ahead and use our Neos Fusion to protect our monster, because he does try to destroy it. But he has the hand trap Gaia Knight monster, but it's just not going to be enough here with all those back row and everything that we have. So he tries to he sets a card, normal summons the Gaia, the Magical Knight, but we have the Canadia. A bit of piece of advice: if you're playing against Gaia, always remember to Book of Moon or Canadia the Curse of Dragonfire. Do not do it on the Gaia, the Magical Knight, because they can still fusion with it if it's face down. So activate Canadia, flip his monster face down. He tries to swing, but again, we have a second Neos Fusion engraved to protect, and at this point, there's just not a lot I don't think he can really do to protect at this point here. Our Neos Knight can swing over monsters here. Our Brave Neos is going to get us an additional search from the deck. Just way too much card advantage for him to come back from. We have a Fiendish Chain set. Nothing left for him to do. We got an easy win here. Alright, so I believe this one is against Gandura. Yes, it is. So we actually have a few tools that can really hit Gandura hard. Any deck that has a lot of trap cards is going to pose a problem for Gandura. Just because they really they have a lot of ways to just well, not a lot of ways, but they have a really easy way to take care of monsters, right? With Gandura just banishing them all from the field. But if you have a lot of trap cards set to stop that, it can pose a huge problem for them. But we also have DD Crow and Karma Cut here now, which also just absolutely devastate this deck. So we have the Liquid Soldier. Go ahead and discard it, send the Neos, activate the Miracle Fusion, get the draw 2, discard 1, putting yourself in a great position already. He doesn't have a whole lot of back row of his own, so we're free to just set 3, swing over his monster, get the search from our deck with the Brave Neos effect. And we're set up really well, right? We have Book of Moon to stop the XYZ play when he goes for it. We have Bottomless and Karma Cut to take care of things here, so plenty of good options here. We can stop the Gandura play easily from going through. But good to know. See, also is just low in resource. I kind of want him to XYZ summon with the Silver Gadget, because the simple fact that the Silver Gadget is kind of difficult to remove on its own without something like a Karma Cut, right? Because he can keep he can summon the other gadget from the deck, and then if you destroy that one, he can summon another gadget, get a search, and it's just a whole thing. So if you have a way to bounce or remove that, it's best. But he doesn't go for the XYZ play here, interestingly enough. I kind of feel like he should have, because he needs to fight his way through this back row. He can't just like sit back on it forever. So we're going to activate our skill here. Go ahead and send an Avion to the graveyard from our hand, a Neos from our graveyard to the deck, or from our deck to the graveyard, get another Miracle Fusion, but we can't activate it this turn because obviously we have 3 back row sets. So I kind of wanted to save the Karma Cut for the Gandura monster. I probably should have just done it on the Gadget monster here and then just gone for the Miracle Fusion and just won, or try to go for the win here. He obviously has like hand traps, so that wouldn't have happened, but still though, it would have been best to try to bait those out now and push for a little bit. But I really do want to save the Karma Cut here for the Gandura monster. But either way, we get to search for the Neos Fusion, so we'll have plenty of ways to summon monsters or free discard material for the Karma Cut. He activates his skill again, going for the Gandura monster. He, again, just passes his turn there, again, worried about the back row, so we're going to go ahead and do that thing. We're going to go ahead and do the Karma Cut play to banish his monster so we don't have to worry about the gadgets. Summoning from the deck, activate the Neos Fusion to go ahead and send another Liquid Soldier from our deck to the graveyard. This is so that we can get the draw to discard 1 next turn off of the Miracle Fusion play. Either way, we're in great shape here still, because we have 3 back row set, plenty of monsters. He does have the Kite Roy, but at this point, he knows it's over. He doesn't have enough resources to win the game at this point. Just way too many back row. Easy wins against Gandura. Another going second game. This is usually a deck you want to go first with, but we're going second a lot here. Now we're playing against Lunalights. Now this matchup can kind of pose problems. We don't have a lot of ways to remove things in our deck that don't target. Bottomless Trap Hole is one of our best ones. We can also make our Neos Knight go up to a bunch of attack points by banishing another copy of it, but even then, it still tops out at like 3,700. So it's really difficult to get over the Lunalight monster that you can't target with card effects, the Saber Dancer, blinking on its name for a second there. Anyway, activate the our skill, discard our Liquid Soldier, send the Neos from the deck to the graveyard, activate the Miracle Fusion, get that draw 2, discard 1, super effective. I'm going to go ahead and activate the Rhoda, search our deck for a Stratos, and summon a Stratos. This is going to let us search our deck out for another Liquid Soldier for next turn. Now we're going to set our 3 back row, and again, Bottomless is just so important against Lunalight because it's really our only answer to Saber Dancer. So we need to make sure that we save it for that card. So he has the White Princess in hand, no surprise there. You expect Lunalights to have hand traps. So we'll deal 1,000 damage, well short of the Destiny Draw effect, so no activation for it there. Now, this is where I probably could have Book of Mooned his monster here, but I didn't do so, and I let him go through with the play. So he bounced back the monster from his hand in the graveyard and activated the Lunalight Fusion. Now, I'm going to chain Book of Moon to my own monster here. So Lunalight Fusion, of course, lets him send a monster from the deck to the graveyard for the Fusion Summon if I have an extra deck monster on my side of the board. But if you chain Book of Moon and you book your own monster, they're not able to do that. So now he's going to have to use up the monsters from his hand that he may not have wanted to make this Fusion Summon happen. So he summons that Saber Dancer that we warned about, that we don't have a lot of answers for. It's already at 3,700 attack points, so we can't deal with it in any way except for Bottomless Trap Hole. It's our only way to kill this card. Fortunately, we have one set, so we're able to get rid of it, and that's all he's able to do on that turn. So activate our skill, discard a Liquid Soldier, send Neos from our deck to the graveyard, activate the Miracle Fusion to get our Fusion Summon, and the draw 2, discard 1. Hopefully draw into another Bottomless Trap Hole because we really need to get it to have any kind of answer here. We don't, so we just gotta hope at this point that he just doesn't have a way to stop our attacks here. No more hand traps, so swing over his monster, swing directly with their other 2 hits. No more hand traps, so we're able to survive this one against the Lunalights. I actually didn't run in the Rose Dragon really on our trip up. Here we go. We go going first game, and we didn't open up with any E-Hero monsters, so we'll just set 3 and pass. Kind of unfortunate. Our opponent has MSC to take care of one of our back row, and then just sets 2 of his own. Not a great play from him. We top deck a Neos, which is not great because anytime you don't have access to Liquid Soldier in hand, you're not going to get the draw 2, discard 1. So at this point, without him really posing much of a threat and not wanting to trigger a Destiny draw here, I'm just going to go ahead and activate the skill and pass so that I thin out the deck. So what I mean by thinning out the deck is that I'm taking cards out of it and putting them into the graveyard or putting them in the hand or other places so that I don't have to worry about drawing into them. I don't want to draw any of these normal monster elemental heroes at this point. I need Stratos or Liquid Soldier to get that draw 2, discard 1. So same thing. I'm going to go ahead and get another one, discard, send the grave. I could I mean, now that I've set 3 back row, I can't even activate them at all at this point, where I gotta wait for my opponent to play cards like this, right? So he does MST at back row, so now we can finally withdraw into the Neos Fusion. This is going to let us dump a Liquid Soldier straight from our deck to the graveyard. So we'll do that, summon the Brave Neos to the board. I didn't need to go after attack with the Destiny drop at this point. I kind of figured his deck wasn't doing much, so I just wanted to kind of figure what he was doing. So go ahead and attack. He gets to set a card, or he draws a card from his deck and sets it. I'm kind of assuming it's probably a Drowning Mirror Force at this point, maybe. So go ahead and activate our Miracle Fusion. We're gonna get the draw 2, discard 1 finally that we've been talking about this whole time. Liquid Soldier's effect activates. Again, I'm going to put the monster defense mode because I think that he has a Drowning Mirror Force set. So set one more back row, and it's a Yosenju Sword Sting that he plays. Oh man, that hurts. Because now he's just going to bounce back our monsters to our deck, and there's nothing we can do to protect it, right? Neos Fusion doesn't protect from this. It only protects against destruction effects, and he activates his 3rd MST now. 3 MSTs taking out 3 different back row cards, so Yosenju can kind of be a problem for this deck, right? They do run things like Drowning Mirror Force. They do run the Yosenju Sword Sting. He's going to have 2 Yosenjus to summon here. We'll flip one of them face down so that he can't bounce it back to hand and can't Sword Sting right now. But I'm going to go ahead and activate another Miracle Fusion. Again, no draw 2, discard 1 here because we don't have a Liquid Soldier in graveyard. We actually are going to be using the DD Crow as our fusion material, but We are going to destroy monster by battle, which is going to let us search for a Neos Fusion, so we have free discard fodder for our Karma Cuts, which we have 2 set right now, and that's kind of big here against this Yosenju deck. We need to be able to remove these monsters as they hit the board, so try to swing for game, come back to his turn, but he has this Sword Sting to bounce our monster back to the deck. He also has the OEM in hand, so we need to be careful about that too. He's going to summon Yoma and then try to summon another Yosenju from hand, so let's just go ahead and bottomless this now, get rid of one of them. And turned out to be a really good play because his next summon was an Izna, and he didn't get the draw 1 effect because he didn't have any other Yosenju monsters on the board. So we'll go ahead and do the Neos Fusion here. It's going to let us dump our 3rd and final Neos to the grave along with the Liquid Soldier. So finally, if we, I don't even know, do we have access to another Miracle Fusion at this point? We might have used all 3 of them up. Yeah, we can still use it one more time, so we can still get the draw 1, or draw 2, discard 1 here, and we're going to do that, I believe. Summon the Stratos, search our deck for another Stratos here. Go ahead and set 1 more back row card. We have so many back row cards set at this point, so we're in good shape there. It's just a matter of can we fight through his hand trap. So he has the Kite Roid, be able to block 2 more attacks with that. Again, only 900 life points left for him, so it's just a matter of battling through those hand traps. So we'll summon our Stratos, search for another Stratos, just so we can keep our chain of monsters going. He's going to summon the OEM, we'll discard with Karma Cut to get rid of it. Kite Roid can negate 2 more attacks, but it's not going to be able to handle the final one, and finally we beat Yosenju. Take out those last bit of life points. Alright, one final game. You know I had to show a match beating up on Blue Eyes White Dragon. I always love beating up on this deck, so our opponent goes first. He has the Cards of Consonance play, so he's going to get the summon in the end phase. Dragon Spirit of the White. I have no back row for him to banish, though, which is totally fine, so back row set along with a Maiden with the Eyes of Blue. We don't have a Liquid Soldier in hand, but we do have access to one through a Neos Fusion, so I'll go ahead and do that. Set our 2 back row. We also have the Favorite Duel effect that we can use here. We're not going to be able to actually activate Miracle Fusion this turn, but again, what I mentioned about thinning out the deck earlier, sending stuff from your deck to the graveyard so you don't have to worry about drawing into it, can be very important, so we'll go ahead and set our other 2 back row here. Try to swing over his Dragon Spirit monster and see if he has the Blue Eyes in hand. He does, which is totally fine. We're not going to get the search now off of it, but we have good back row set. Karma Cut can banish multiple Blue Eyes from the board, which is obviously extremely powerful. So we're in a good spot here. He summons a he summons a the stone, the White Stone of Ancients, bringing out a Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Then he's going to go ahead and get the effect in the end phase to summon a Blue Eyes from his deck, but he can't swing over my monster though with only 2,500 attack points here. So come back to our turn. We're finally going to get that draw 2, discard 1. Again, Liquid Soldier effect, so important to this deck. We'll go ahead and activate it. Summon the Neos Knight to the board here. Get our draw. Discard a Liquid Soldier to the graveyard so we have it there in the future. Again, we want to thin out our deck, so we're going to activate the Reinforcement of the Army. Search our deck out for our Stratos here. Make sure we have it. Summon it to the board. Go ahead and try to pop his back row here. Let's just clean it out now. It's a Book of Moon, which is unfortunate because when Neos Knight gets flipped down, it loses its attack boost. But in this situation now, he can't activate Maiden with the Eyes of Blue's effect because he has a full board. So this whole protection effect about summoning another Blue Eyes monster, it does not apply right now. So easily destroy the Maiden with the Eyes of Blue. Try to swing over his Blue Eyes Dragon Spirit. He's going to summon the Azure Eyes, which is kind of problematic because we don't actually have a way to deal with it right now with 3,000 defense. But we can go ahead and activate the Karma Cut, banish his Blue Eyes monster, clean out the ones from the graveyard, and now we can actually chain it to the Azure Eyes effect so that he is not able to protect it with its effect, right? So banish out the Blue Eyes monster. He is going to be able to summon the Dragon Spirit with the white from the graveyard, but we can chain Phoenix Chain to try to lock it up, or in this case, bait out the other final Blue Eyes monster out of his hands, which at 3,000 attack points is a little bit intimidating, but I think we can still deal with it with our deck just fine here. So you can try to swing over a monster, but we have the Neos Fusion to protect. Swing over a face-down monster, which is totally fine because it puts our Brave Neos up to 3,000 attack points now. So summon the Neos, pop the back row. It's a Karma Cut. He's going to go ahead and go to banish our Brave Neos, but that's fine because now we can activate our favorite duel skill. Again, we have the Liquid Soldier engraved that we dumped there earlier, so Miracle Fusion is going to give us a draw 2, discard 1. Go into the Neos Knight. This can easily swing over both of his monsters, clean them both out, swing, and then swing directly with our 2 Stratos. Easy win over Blue Eyes.